Greetings, my peeps, and welcome to the All Things Basketball Podcast with your boy GD. In this episode, I'll give you my kind of sort of season preview for the NBA for the Western Conference. And also, I'll give you all my playoff teams, the play-in teams, and also the end of the season awards. I'll give you my predictions there. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Okay, guys, we're back up in here. It's your boy GD, and I'm giving you my kind of sort of NBA season preview with the Western Conference. Reason I say kind of sort of is because we already got some games in the books already. So, didn't alter my picks all that much, especially in the West. Maybe here and there, but we'll talk about it. So, let's get into it. So, we're going to start with the Southwest Division. All those Texas teams and kind of Southern sort of teams. So, starting with the Dallas Mavericks. I think this division is pretty much the Dallas Mavericks to lose. I think they'll end up being on top in this division. They were the conference champs last year. They did lose a major piece in Jalen Brunson, but I think a Spencer Dinwiddie can kind of fill that role, although there's always health issues with Dinwiddie, but I think that he can fill the bill. So, and then also remember you brought in a Christian Wood, a guy, a big, much needed big. You also brought in a JaVale McGee, somebody with championship pedigree. So, those are huge acquisitions there. So, and you need a healthy Tim Hardaway Jr. Tim Hardaway Jr.'s, he battled injuries last year, so you need him healthy. You need him upright. You got a Reggie Bullock there. You got a Dorian Finney-Smith, and some other pieces as well. And, of course, the major catalyst there, Luka Doncic, who I will talk about him later, but he is the straw that stirs the drink for the Mavericks. So, Jason Kidd is second year at the helm. I think he leads this team to a division title. So, second in that division, New Orleans Pelicans. I think the New Orleans Pelicans, they surged late in the season. Last season, they surged to even make it in the play-in. And then remember what they did in the play-in. The teams they beat in order to make the play-in. So, and then what they did in the playoffs, giving Phoenix a run for their money. So, Willie Green has done a tremendous job, to be honest with you. So, and then remember they get Zion Williamson back, although he left the game the other night with a left ankle injury. So we'll see what happens there. They're going to handle him with kid gloves. So, but he's a guy, when he's in there, he's great. He scored over 25 and he had a 25 game average his first few games. But it's the injuries that seems to follow him. So we'll see what happens there. Also, Brandon Ingram is in concussion protocol, so that bears some watching. He'll miss some games. But you also have C.J. McCollum playing his first full season with the Pelicans. I think that's key for them. Of course, you want to see an encore from young players like Herbert Jones and Jose Alvarado. You still have Giannis Valanciunas, man in the middle. Jackson Hayes, you have him as well. So I just think Willie Green knows how to push this team and get them playing, so I'm going to pick them second in that division. That means third place will be the Memphis Grizzlies. I know that's kind of a tumble from last year, but remember, they're going to miss Jarrett Jackson Jr. for most of 2022. He'll be back in January, so that's a couple of months you're going to be without a major player there. So I think it's going to be a heavy load for Ja Morant to carry. So that might make them slide a bit, but they're still a dangerous team. Make no mistake about it. So there's going to be tremendous pressure on Ja Morant, and he's a guy who's susceptible to getting hurt here and there. So that's something to keep in mind, guys. Of course, you need guys like Desmond Bane, who started off slow but had a pretty good game tonight against the Nets. Dylan Brooks, who's banged up right now, and Brandon Clark to fill in and kind of fill that gap until Jarrett Jackson Jr. comes back. A name to keep in mind is Santi Aldama. He's been a surprise in the preseason and thus far in the season here. He's a power forward, from Spain, but he's been playing well. And then you got Steven Adams working the middle. So they're going to be a problem. Make no mistake about it. Taylor Jenkins, he's the right guy to lead this team. So they're going to be an absolute problem. I just think not having Jarrett Jackson Jr. there in the beginning will probably hurt them a bit. But nonetheless, they'll be in the playoff picture. Make no mistake about it. So I'm picking them third. Fourth place, I'm going to say the San Antonio Spurs. San Antonio Spurs is under a major rebuild. Right now, your leading scorer, the guy whose stock is rising, is Keldon Johnson. Keldon Johnson, who had a very good year last year, and you're going to need more out of him. So also look for the rise of Devin Vassell. I think this is his year to really break out and be that next guy for Greg Popovich. And then the question is, can Trey Jones fill the DeJounte Murray shoe? Remember, DeJounte Murray was a Spur. He got traded. So can he do it? If not, he's going to have Joshua Primo breathing down his neck. So all that bears some watching. But again, I say Popovich, he's got this team building in the right direction. I don't know if he's going to stay for the total rebuild as far as, like more seasons. That's what I mean. I think he'll close throughout this year, barring anything unforeseen. But I just think in this division, they'll probably finish fourth. And then that brings us to the fifth place team, the Houston Rockets. Houston Rockets also in rebuild mode. But I trust the Spurs rebuild more than I trust the Rockets. And right now, I don't know what Steven Silas is doing. He was bringing Alperen Sengun off the bench. This is a guy with so much promise. You move Christian Wood out to give this guy that sort of time, as well as your first round pick Jabari Smith Jr. But yeah, I'm not sure what he's doing right now, so we'll see. And of course, you got young guys like Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr., who you just re-signed him, gave him his bag, so he's good. But a guy to keep an eye on over there, Terry Eason. Terry Eason, I think he could eventually be one of those rookies who kind of takes off once he's given consistent playing time. Right now, he's got a few guys in front of him, Jay Sean Tate and Kenyon Martin Jr. So we'll see what happens there. But I'm picking them to finish at the bottom of that division. Moving on to the Northwest Division there, I think this is probably up and down. This is probably the toughest division in the West and possibly in the league. Right now, I'm going to pick, and this is tough. I've been going back and forth with it. I'm going to say Denver. I'll say Denver ends up finishing atop of this division. I think it's going to be close, though. I'll speak about the second place team, but Denver right now, you got Jamal Murray back. You got Michael Porter Jr. back, healthy. So you're going to have to manage those guys. You're going to have to, tread lightly with them. They're coming back off of major injuries. So we'll see what happens there. I think Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is a major upgrade at the shooting guard position and is bearing fruit so far. But your front court of Nikolai Jokic, of course, your MVP, as well as Michael Porter and Aaron Gordon, that's a tough front court right there. Very formidable. So, and then, of course, you got bench guys like Bones Highland there. But I tell you what, Mike Malone, he's been coaching these guys for a while. Kind of want to see them take a next step in the playoffs. You got all your guys back, so I think it's going to take them about 20 to 25 games for them to get, for both of those guys, Murray and Porter, to get their sea legs back. And once that happens, it's going to be trouble in the West. So I'm picking them first. Second place team, I'm picking Portland. Dane's back, and a couple of games been in the books, and he put a boot right in the Lakers. I'll talk about that in a minute, but they played the Lakers smartly and down the stretch and won the game. So Dane's back, so that's a good thing. Also, the addition of a Jeremy Grant is huge. He struggled so far out the gate, but I think he'll round into shape eventually. It's a matter of him just fitting in with what the Blazers do. Of course, everything hinges on the health of Jostaf Nurkic and his health. He only played 56 games last season, so keeping him healthy, keeping him upright is always key. And then you got an intriguing backcourt of Dame and Anthony Simons, which is, to me, is probably like Dame CJ 2.0. So, and another unsung guy for them is going to be Josh Hart. Josh Hart, he's playing the small forward now. He's kind of doing that dirty work, so to speak. So, great defender and just doing the little things. So, but I see Portland, Chauncey Billups. Chauncey Billups now has a team that he can coach, and I think he's going to get the most out of these guys. They're already 3-0, so so Portland, I think, will finish second. It's going to be tough between those two, between them and the Nuggets, but I think the Nuggets have just a tinge more firepower, so I think they'll finish first. Excuse me. So, yes. All right, so that leads us to the third place team. Third place team, Minnesota Timberwolves. I think it's the Timberwolves. They were a play-in team last year. No, they weren't. Yeah, so they was, I think, in fact, no, they were the sixth place team. So, but this is the team now. You got the Twin Towers of Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert. Remember, they made the huge trade, gave away a lot of draft capital and players to get him. So I think that experiment there bears some watching. Anthony Edwards, I think he's gonna be a star this year. I think he'll probably earn his first All-Star appearance this year. That's how good he is. Of course, the health of D'Angelo Russell, always key for them. He did play 65 games, which I guess you take. But if he were to get in 70-game range, I think that'll be beneficial. Thing with them, they got a thin bench. So that doesn't help. So, but Chris Finch, he did an amazing job last year with this team. He lost a lot of his bench depth to get Rudy Gobert. So, sometimes you have to sacrifice. But nonetheless, I think they finished third. Fourth and fifth place team, I was kind of flipping back and forth between the two. But I guess with this 3-0 start, I gotta say I had them fourth anyway. So the Utah Jazz. So looks like old Danny Ainge stripped the team down to the studs by dealing both Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. He got players back, of course he did, but I think his eye is towards that French kid, the one everybody's clamoring over. So they do have players. Lauri Markkanen, who's playing very well, in fact. Colin Sexton, he's getting his legs under him because he missed last year with the knee injury. Kelly Olynyk, a guy who can very unsung, but he's a guy who can fill it up and give you good minutes at the center position. Jordan Clarkson is still there, so he's a guy who can come off the bench and give you punch. So you got some pieces there. They're off to the 3-0 start. I think they were losing tonight to Minnesota last I checked. So I'm not even sure what the final score was there. But this guy, Will Hardy, looks like he doesn't look overmatched and looks like he knows what he's doing there, the new coach. So we'll see what happens. But I'm picking them fourth. I think when a season long, I think it'll be tough for them to sustain what they're doing right now. So, and then you got the fifth place team, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Of course, they lost their first round pick, Chet Holmgren, to a ACL injury. Unfortunate, it happened in the preseason. That definitely hurts you, that's for sure. Everything begins and ends with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He played in only 56 games last year, so I expect pretty much more of the same. I'd be surprised if it's anything more than that. He's another guy who's just susceptible to injury for some reason or another. So now, can Josh Giddey follow up his solid rookie season? But he's a guy who played only in 54 games. So you got two guys in your backcourt who, for all intents and purposes, misses at least 20 games. Well, so far, at least. So we'll see what happens there. I was going to tell you keep an eye on Jalen Williams, but he's got the knee injury, so he's done. So you're looking for improvement from Lou Dort. Of course, your small forward there. It's a lot of young pieces still with this team, but is you just got some juggernauts above you, so they will finish in fifth. Now to the Pacific Division. Another tough division, actually. But we'll get into it. So here you got the defending world champs, the Golden State Warriors, and I believe they will finish first in this division again. I just think they just have, you got the starting five, and you got pretty good depth, young talent as well. So Kerr is loaded for Steve Kerr. He's loaded for bear, man. Of course, we gotta see the effects of the fallout between Draymond Green and Jordan Poole. They got into that fight in practice. I would say it's a nothing burger. Back in the day, before the cell phone camera and all these other devices, these guys would be at it at practice. You saw on Last Dance, Jordan talked about, challenging his players like a Steve Kerr, like, and a few others. So I think this is all to do about nothing. The only reason it's a big deal is because someone leaked the video, which that in and of itself is egregious. That's ridiculous. For that to get out there in the public space is ridiculous. But I think, here's what I think as far as Golden State. I think this is Draymond's last hurrah with them. I do think that they secured bags for Jordan Poole to the tune of 4 years, $140 million, and then they come back a couple of days later and they re-up Andrew Wiggins for 4 years, $109 million. So where does that leave a guy like Draymond? I think this is his last hurrah. That's my feeling on it. Will he make it through the season? I think he does. I think their rally cry will probably be, let's win one for Draymond, since he's going to be out the door. So you got James Wiseman healthy, the young center there. That's going to help. He had the knee injury last season. You got a full training camp with Klay Thompson. That's going to help. That's for sure. And then you got a kid like Jonathan Kuminga, who pretty much does the things that Draymond does. It's just he doesn't have the veteran seasoning. But he's a guy who can fill in for Draymond in a pinch. So, but again, I think this is Draymond's last hurrah in Golden State. So you can quote me on that. So they finished first. Second place, the Los Angeles Clippers. The LA Clippers, they get Kawhi Leonard back, although they're going to load manage him till the wheels fall off. But I think the combination of him and Paul George is just a lethal combination. So the addition of John Wall certainly helps. That second unit, to me, he's sort of like the Derrick Rose of the West. In that regard, I think this will revitalize him. He's not being called upon to play major minutes. He's called upon to run that second unit there. I think that's right in John Wall's wheelhouse. You don't have to give him 30 minutes per game. You still have a Reggie Jackson there. This team is deep, man. This team is deep. Because you still got Reggie Jackson, Marcus Morris. You still have Robert Covington. You got a sharpshooter like Luke Kennard. Of course, you got your center Zubac. And by the way, they have a Norman Powell for the days when Kawhi takes a rest. So they're loaded. That's why in that division they'll be second. I don't think they'll be that close a second to Golden State, but they'll be second nonetheless. So yeah, because I gotta take into account the times they're gonna load manage this guy. But I mean, they got solid depth, so maybe closer than I think. But nonetheless, they'll finish second. That means third place, I'm picking the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix Suns, supposedly all is forgiven with DeAndre Ayton. Remember, they reluctantly re-signed him back after what he did in the playoffs last year. Yeah, so he's back. But the question is, for how long? For how long? Is he a guy who maybe gets dealt at the trade deadline? It's possible, because remember, they're not able to trade him till it's usually about 6 months. Is it 6 months or 3 months after he signs? Nonetheless, they can't trade him right away. So I think it's possible you get moved. We'll see. The keys to that belongs in the hands of Monty Williams, the coach. So we'll see there. Will Jay Crowder get traded? Now, he's one who sat out of preseason. He hasn't played in the season thus far. So Cam Johnson has moved into his spot for the interim. But I think Crowder probably played his last game for the Suns. It's just a matter of them dealing him. So how much does Chris Paul have left in the tank? We'll see there. And then, so there's a lot of pressure on Monty Williams. Make no mistake about it. And then, of course, you have your star there, Devin Booker. You know he's going to carry the load. So, and you still have a serviceable Mikal Bridges, who actually finished among the top 3 amongst the defensive players of the year. So you need another solid year from him as well. But I think with all that adversity there, I think they don't have the depth that Clippers have, and even Golden State for that matter. So I'm going to pick the Suns for third. This was tough, but I'm just going to say, Lakers will finish fourth. They'll finish fourth. I mean, you still got a LeBron. You still got Anthony Davis. Darvin Ham, this is his first rodeo, so as coach. But the backcourt of Pat Bev and Russell Westbrook scares me. It scares me. So much so, listen to this. So far this season, Patrick Beverley has shot 3 for 15. That's 20%, guys. His backcourt mate, Russell Westbrook, 11 for 38. A bit higher percentage, but that's not even above 30. And then you have the game where the second game where your backcourt of Russell Westbrook, Patrick Beverley, and Kendrick Nunn combined for 1 for 25 from the field. Man, you cannot make this stuff up. You cannot win games in this league when your 3 guards. Could you imagine Isaiah Thomas, a Joe Dumars, and a Vinnie Johnson going 1 for 25 in a game? That would never happen. But again, all 3 of those guys are shooters that these guys would never be. So, so it looks bad. They're the Lakers are desperate, absolutely desperate for outside shooting. They've been kicking around the idea of Buddy Hield for a minute. That hasn't come to fruition. Now I hear they're interested in Terry Rozier. Evan Fournier of my Knicks is a possible guy who would definitely help them in terms of outside shooting. But here's my whole thing about all this talk about the Lakers and so forth. When is it the case that it's their birthright to make the playoffs? I keep coming to that. When you let players make personnel moves, this is what you get. LeBron signed on for Russell Westbrook to come back home to LA and play for the Lakers. And this is what you get. So you bring in a guy you know didn't fit with what you do, because you like to handle the ball, so does Westbrook. You need shooting. That's something that Westbrook just doesn't do. So it was a bad fit to begin with. So for this idea, I know the Lakers are one of the perennial teams in the NBA as far as, their worth and those sort of things, but when it's I get it, I guess, but it is not their right to make the playoffs every single season. It's not their right. That's all I'm saying. It is not their right. If you got the right pieces around you, then fine. You should make the playoffs. But to say you got LeBron and AD and that's enough to make playoffs, not in the Western Conference. This Western Conference is tough, man. So that's why I say they won't make playoffs. Also, you got the fact that LeBron is chasing Kareem's all-time scoring record. So that is something he could accomplish probably by about January-ish. So, and the way it falls is, oddly enough, that he could possibly break it in Madison Square Garden. Go figure. It always happens to the Knicks, but I digress. But for the Lakers, again, you got to worry about the health of Anthony Davis also. That's a big concern, too. That's why I'm picking them fourth. And then fifth, we have the Sacramento Kings. Sacramento Kings, they'll be under Mike Brown. I think they'll be a scrappy team. I think they will not be an easy mark. Sure, they're 0-3 right now, but I think in due time they could improve. But in this division, they'll finish fifth. It could be a surprise team. Could be. Not so far, that's for sure. They did upgrade the shooting guard position with Kevin Huerter. They brought him in as well as Malik Monk. So that's a definite upgrade. You're getting the full season with Domantas Sabonis. That's going to help. Keegan Murray, your rookie, he looks legit. But you need a healthy De'Aaron Fox, who only played 59 games last year. You need him healthy. So, but again, I think in this rough and tumble Pacific Division, they finished fifth. So that brings me to the playoffs. Your top 6 teams will be Golden State, Dallas. It'll be Denver. It'll be the Clippers. It'll be Portland. And I think the 6th team will be the Pelicans. Which means the play-in teams will be the Memphis Grizzlies, the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Phoenix Suns, who is the 10th team? Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say, oddly enough, unless Danny Boy does another trade and strips it down even further, I think it'll be Utah, not the LA Lakers. I think, again, they'll be on the outside looking in. I think that. So, all right. So that is, and then coming out of the West will be, I think, Golden State. And then you have a Golden State and Milwaukee final. So, all right. So that's my picks as far as that goes. As far as the awards go, MVP, I'm going to give you my pick, and then I'm going to give you a dark horse. So, my pick for MVP, Luka Doncic. I think this is the year. I think, guys, we still get a European player winning the award yet again. And that'll be Luka. I think he gets it this season. My dark horse, I was going to say Embiid. But I think dark horse could be probably Giannis again. I think it'll be Giannis. I think Embiid will put up numbers. I think the team won't do so well. So I'm going to pick Giannis as the dark horse. Sixth man of the year. If he doesn't get traded, Jordan Clarkson. I think this will be the year he gets it. So, my dark horse will be Karis LeVert for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Coach of the year, I think it'll be one of two of these candidates here. It'll be either Willie Green or it will be Chauncey Billups. I say the team with the better record between these two will get the coach of the year. So, which I'm leaning towards a Chauncey Billups. And then for most improved player, I think this is Anthony Edwards' award to lose. I think this is the year he really becomes a star, being that second guy next to Karl Anthony Towns. And then when you kind of load manage him, he'll be the guy. So I think Anthony Edwards. My dark horse is probably Cade Cunningham. I think he could be. I think it'll be him as a kind of a dark horse, but I think it's Anthony Edwards all the way. Defensive Player of the Year. I think Rudy Gobert is going to play with a chip on his shoulder this season. The fact that he was dealt out of Utah, kind of making it look like he was at fault over there. I think he comes and plays with a reckless abandon on defense. I think he becomes Defensive Player of the Year. My dark horse will be Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think he'll be amongst those three, I think. But I think he'll go to Rudy Gobert. And then Rookie of the Year, Paolo Banchero. Right now, he looks like the guy. The only person I see nudging him is Benedict Mathurin, but I think they're going to be so bad, although Orlando's going to be bad too, but I think he's going to put up consistent enough numbers. I saw him tonight. This kid is a stud. He's the right foundational piece for the Magic, and again, I think he'll end up being the Rookie of the Year. So that's all the awards, guys. That's it for this episode. I want to do, of course, bring you more content, of course. I want to, again, do my player spotlight. There's a few players I got earmarked. I don't want to give too much away. I am going to do a women's basketball wrap-up. I didn't really do that. Again, life kind of got in the way, guys. You know how that goes. But I'm back. I'm rejuvenated. The fact that I went to a podcast festival recently and the energy was great in there. The sessions were terrific. All the information I got is going to help me as far as my ascent into the podcast biz here. So a lot of dope creators, man. really gave me some sound advice. So, yeah, so I'm ready to do this, guys. I'm ready to get in here and put in this work. So, all right, guys, I thank you so much for listening to this show. I come back each and every time because of you guys. You guys give me the juice, give me the energy to keep going. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you once again, and we will talk soon. All right? Take care. So, my peeps, if you like what you're listening to, you can go to my website, www.allthingsbasketballwithgd.com. You can also email me at thatsportsdudegd@gmail.com. To support this podcast, you can go to my PayPal, and that email is thatsportsdudegd@gmail.com. Also on my Anchor page, I have a support button there that you can also use to help the podcast. I'm on all the major platforms like Anchor, Spreaker, Google Podcasts, Amazon, SoundCloud, YouTube, Castbox, Radio Public, Podchaser, just to name a few. And also you can find me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Clubhouse, and Fanbase. So, once again, I thank you for listening and supporting this podcast. And take care and be safe.